Hey, Coin University traders, I want to show you guys at least once a week. I want to, in addition to making the live calls that I do on our site and showing you what the calls are for the trades, the ups, downs, the buys, the sells. When I give you a trading call, I also would like to occasionally give you one of these videos to show you when I'm in the middle of the call, why I'm doing it, teach you some of the philosophy behind it and how it's working. So if you guys have been watching some of my other videos, you know that I'm pretty accurate. I win 8 or 9 out of every 10 calls that I do, every one that I trade, because we do safe trading. We do predictable trades, and we get in and out in a very reasonable amount of time, and we don't take extreme risks. And one of the reasons that we're not trading altcoins right now is because there's no predictable pattern in those. I'm going to be teaching you altcoins and telling you why to stay away from them currently, and we'll talk more about that. Some people really love them. Some people are making a lot of money. Some people are losing a lot of money. But we're going to deal with Bitcoin right now. So the last one that I did about a half an hour ago, maybe an hour ago, I went ahead and told you guys that I'm selling 40% of all my Bitcoin. I'm going to sell at 13,950, and you can see that's pretty close to where it peaked. It peaked at 13,975, and so I sold at 13,950 to get in right before the wall. And when I refer to the wall, I'm referring to this selling point. You can see that when you're looking at the depth chart, there's usually this great big cliff of insanity here where everybody's getting ready to sell off at 14,000. So I know that it's probably not going to go much higher above that. You can see that my buyback point is sitting right here, that little triangle. So I set my triangle, or I set my buyback point at 13,533. So I'm going to gain the difference between 13.5 and 13.9. So I'm going to make a pretty nice little profit on those three plus the other coins that I'm selling in the other one. And here's the philosophy behind it. So we can see that the high back here was somewhere around 14.2. Very likely not going to get back up there because, as you can see, the last two peaks just peaked out at 14. This one's peaking out at 14, and this one's peaking out at 14. So I knew that that was probably a good point, that it's not going to go much higher. We probably won't see it go much higher than that for at least a couple more days. So we got a couple more of these bounces. So the philosophy is, if you watch the pattern, I'm sitting here at the hour chart. I choose 1 hour. You can see that we have a fairly consistent bounce. When it gets up to 14, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of dropping, and it drops down to its low point. This one dropped all the way down to 13.3. And then over here, we go up to the top, and we got 1, 2, this one didn't quite go down, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 hours of falling, and it falls all the way down to 12.9. And so we got a pretty nice spread. We got from 13.8 to 12.9. That's almost $1,000. And then we do this again over here. We see that it comes up to its high. It's about 14 at the peak of the candle here. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of falling. And we see that it fell all the way down here at the bottom of the wick, 13. So we went all the way from 14 all the way down to 13. That's $1,000 bounce in a 4-hour period. Now we're expecting the same thing here. We have a nice steady rise all the way up to the same point, and now we have 1, 2, 3. We're in our third hour right now since the fall, and it's down to 13.7. Now I'm not going to wait for it to get down to 13.1. I could, if you're sitting here staring at your screen, if you want to watch for the 4-hour mark or the 3-hour mark and see how far it's fallen. If you can see that it's going to continue to move down, then you can hold off on selling. But what I do is I just do an automatic cash in. I just want to make a quick $500 per coin. If you can do that a couple times a week with 3 coins, that's a pretty nice income. You can do, $3,000 a week in extra money just by taking advantage of these little bounces. So here's the philosophy. I sold at 14. Let's just, for round numbers, I sold at 14. I'm getting back out at 13.5. So with that $500 bounce, I'm just automatically going to sell on both. And I'm going to actually buy back, and I'm going to gain a nice little percentage. Now, again, because it has a $1,000 spread instead of a $500 spread, we're very, very safe in expecting it to go down $500. And so at the end of the next hour, we'll see that it may go back up again. Not likely, but it could. It could actually not make it all the way down to my 500 and go back up to 14, but I'm not worried about it because the wall is still here. We can still see a pretty strong wall at 14, and even if it goes back up to 14, it'll most likely come back down to the point that I have. It's just got a pretty good predictable outcome. Now, here's worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is if it goes up to 14.5. If it all of a sudden starts to take its old pattern back and it goes up to 14.5, what I'll do is is I'll change my buyback and I'll buy it back at what I sold it for, because I know if it goes to 14.5, it'll come back down to 14.9. So I want to just get back in at what I sold it, and I won't take a loss, because if it starts to go to 14.5, it's changing its pattern. It's going to have a new high, and it might not have as far of a low. So hope that all made sense to you. Just pay attention, watch the calls, watch what I'm doing. It won't take long before you catch the patterns of why I'm doing what I'm doing, and just follow along and realize we do everything pretty safe. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm not trading Bitcoin against altcoins, because worst case scenario, I cash out now and I have $50,000, $60,000 in cash. I actually haven't lost anything. It's still back. It's still in a cash account. The only thing that I've lost is the potential gains that I could have had just by holding. But like I said, as long as we win more than we lose, all of these trades are great. So hope that made sense to you. Go ahead and share on the community. If you have any questions, share underneath this video, share it out with your friends. Enjoy the site.